Welcome to another report for the channel. This is my second ITC match, and it's custard on custard action. Could get messy. The mission is cut to the heart, with hammer and anvil deployment. Although we're both using Custodes, our armies are utterly different, with my opponent using a very unconventional character-laden list. Let's take a look at the rosters then. A quick look at our secondary objectives. I've pasted their definitions into the video description. I chose Gangbusters, Headhunter, and Recon. My opponent also picked Gangbusters, in addition to Behind Enemy Lines and Kingslayer. So in Cut to the Heart, there are 3 objectives. One in the center, I placed my one in this ruin here, and my opponent's is just the other side of this ruin here. You get a bonus point if you control both the central objective and the opponent's objective at the end of your turn. My Sag Guard and Trajaran deploy hidden out of sight in the ruin, with the Custodes nearby, and my bikes closer to the front of my deployment zone. The enemies stick a blob of 2 guard squads, 2 jet bike captains, and the Inquisitor, at the front of their deployment zone. The 3rd jet bike captain is further north. The rest of the army is holed up near their objective, with the 2 Vindicators, the Dreadnought, and guard squad all hanging out back here. The Custodes assassin and 3 Terminator captains are waiting in deep strike. Before we get started, take a closer look at his paint scheme. His army is beautifully painted in a Solar Watch color scheme, which is also quite handy for differentiating his army from my bog standard Custodes. As an aside, I'm trying out a new way of recording wounds and whatnot, using colored gems. Red for 1 wound, blue for 5 wounds, and yellow to denote a buff from a spell or a stratagem. Right, let's get the frick on with the battle. I get first turn as I set up first. I decide to try for Recon straight away, which means spreading their bikes out like so.
Is that a crime?
No, it's not a crime. It's just
crime.
odd, and it's a little bit offensive.
In order to see his main blob, the Custodes have to move across out of Trajaran's aura. Unfortunately, I have to leave Trajaran and the Sag Guard hidden in the building for now, as if I expose them his 2 Vindicators will have a field day. In shooting, my Custodes target the frontmost unit of Custodian Guard, but his Storm Shield guy tanks everything, taking just a couple of wounds. Okay, Solar Watch turn 1. Over in this back building, the only movement is the Dreadnought coming out of hiding so that it can shoot at my bikes, and the Custodian Guard moving to occupy an upper floor. In the center of the table, his 3 shield captains all converge near my topmost unit of bikes, and his infantry push forwards. My thinking here was that the bottom unit of jet bikes protects the upper one, as he'll probably want to commit all of his shield captains against the top unit, or at least won't want to suicide one of them into the bottom unit on its own, therefore I should be able to stooping dive with the bottom unit. In shooting, he obviously has a pretty minimal amount. He puts a wound on one of the bikes here, and between his Dreadnought and Vindicators, manages to kill 1 bike from this bottom unit. He then charges all 3 shield captains into the top unit of bikes as I'd hoped. However, there's an unexpected turn of events. He manages to make a long bomb charge into the bottom unit, with one of his guard squads. I think he needed like an 11 or some frickin' shiz, and got it. The bikes were only so far forward because I wanted to score a cheeky hold more this turn, so needed to be close to the central objective. Well, this has all backfired rather horrifically.
This administration is running like a fine-tuned machine.
In combat he does a number on both units, but he doesn't wipe out either of them fortunately, and 1 bike is left from each unit. I don't really do much or anything to him in return. End of round 1, and here's the scorecard. Solar Watch are storming ahead with a 5-2 lead. Although neither of us got kill, he did take out 5 bikes, netting him 3 points for Gangbusters, plus he has hold more. I only scored hold and Recon. My turn 2. Right lads, better pull your frickin' fingers out, cause it's gonna be a heck of a scramble to claw this one back. One Caladius zips up here, as from this position it can actually shoot at one of the shield captains without being blocked by the custodian guard. The other Caladius backs up to get within Trajarn's aura. The rest of my movement is pretty conservative. The last thing I want is to try and dogpile the custodian guard, bounce off a storm shield, then get eaten by shield captain's next turn.
It would be extremely painful.
Oh, and the survivors from the two beleaguered jetbike units scatter away. One comes down here, and the other heads in the opposite direction, up here, to try and tempt one of the shield captains to follow him, or risk me maxing out Recon. Well, shooting goes fantastically. The upper Caladius targets the one shield captain which doesn't have a 3+ invuln, and kills him, and the other Caladius wipes out the custodian guard squad in the center, after he whiffs a couple of storm shield saves. So in Solar Watch turn 2, his remaining infantry push up towards the central objective, whilst one shield captain moves up to threaten the spike, and his other remaining captain doubles back to try and take out this one. Finally, his Calidus assassin pops up over here. He couldn't find a good spot to deep strike his 3 Terminator captains, so they stay in reserve for now. Psychic sees one wound being smited onto the bike, and the Vindicares between them manage to take out one SAG guard. I forgot to mention that I moved my SAG guard up here last turn, so they could shoot. Other than that, the Dreadnought just puts a wound onto my 2 southernmost bikes, then it's on to charges. The captain up here, who's his warlord, completely mullers his target. But down here, the captain does make his charge into the bike, but comes unstuck and only manages to do one more wound, even taking a few in return as well. Looks like that captain's in for a lovely time next turn.
I'ma get medieval on your ass.
At the end of round 2, it's 10-8 to Solar Watch. I kill more, but he holds more, he maxes out Gangbuster, and his Calidus and captain ensure he scores behind enemy lines. Meanwhile I scored another recon point, and made a start on both of my other secondaries too. My turn 3 movement. This guy stays in combat, Trajarn comes out to play, my warlord also flies across to join the fray, and the 2 remaining regular bikes head up towards the central objective. In shooting, one Caladius takes aim at the custodian guards near the Inquisitor in the center, and has another blinder of a phase, with my opponent getting unlucky with his storm shield yet again, and the squad gets mullered.
Whoa!
The second Caladius doesn't have any other particularly useful targets, so it picks on the custodian guard near the enemy objective, and rips through 2 of them. Man, the Caladiuses are really pulling their frickin' weight in this match. Next, the jet bikes charge the Inquisitor, and I mean literally just, manage to take him out, thanks to their misericordias. Over here, Trajarn fails his frickin' charge. But my warlord obviously makes it, as you can see. The end result is that the enemy shield captain takes 6 wounds, and kills my regular bike in return.
How rude!
Solar Watch turn 3. His warlord, who tarried in the north to deal with my lone jet bike, now flies back to the center. He realizes his dreadnought is kind of wasted now just hanging back, so starts to bring it forward. All 3 of his Terminator captains deep strike in the ruins here. In shooting, one Vindicare does 5 wounds to Trajarn, and the other one kills another SAG guard. His charge phase is pretty big. 2 of his Motherfucking Terminator captains make their charge out of deep strike, one into my 2 bikes and one into my warlord.
I don't think we're going to make it out of here alive.
Well, his warlord and Termi captain over here go ham. And they slay both of my jet bikes. Over here, he has no such luck though. My warlord is just that much of a tough bastard, and only takes 2 wounds, dealing 6 in retaliation to the Termi captain. That leaves both of his characters here with just 1 wound left each. Round 3 scores, and I've managed to pull it back to 15 points apiece. Once again, I kill more while Solar Watch hold more. I've now killed enough of his guard that I max out Gangbusters, and I netted another Headhunter point as well. By doing 2 wounds to my warlord, Solar Watch got a point for Kingslayer. My turn 4, and I pull everyone back into the bottom right corner. Number 1 priority is to protect my warlord, so he flies over here. He can't get behind the building to be safe from the Vindicares. The lone remaining SAG guard pops back into the ruins so that he can continue to hold the objective and not get sniped. In shooting, one Caladius deletes the nearby shield captain, and the other one puts a couple of wounds onto his warlord. Trajarn then charges the Termi captain, rolling a snake eyes for his charge but still just about getting in, as he was so close anyway, and proceeds to easily slay him. Solar Watch, turn 4. The dreadnought stomps towards me some more, his last Termi captain heads towards Trajarn, and his warlord stays in the center, to try and score hold more.
You coward!
Shooting's pretty nail-biting, as my warlord is exposed to the Vindicares. But the Vindicares perform frankly abysmally, and he fails to cause any wounds. Finally, the Termi captain charges Trajarn, but Traj takes it on the chin and suffers no wounds, doing 5 to the captain in return. Here's the round 4 scorecard, and my banana boys have finally turned it around after a frickin' disastrous first turn. It's now 2018 to me, as I get 2 more points from Headhunter, and I'm 1 up on primaries this turn too. Solar Watch get behind enemy lines again. My turn 5, and the summary is basically that I kill his warlord with 1 Caladius, kill the Dreadnought with the other Caladius, and finish off the Termi captain with Trajarn. Holy frickin' shizballs, the Caladiuses are just performing brutally in this match. My warlord flies behind the ruin in my corner to try and hide.
Wise and prudent commander.
Solar Watch turn 5, and he just has the 3 assassins left now. I only have this same pick, I didn't get a separate pick for this turn unfortunately. The 3 custodian guard who were guarding his objective must have gotten killed in a previous turn. Anyway, the highest Vindicare can actually still see my warlord due to his elevated position, and manages to sneak a wound through, but only does 2 more wounds in total. The other Vindicare does finish off Trajarn, though. So the score is currently 23-22, to me. We're neck and neck on secondaries, as he grabs another Kingslayer point for doing 2 more wounds to my warlord, and maxes out behind enemy lines, but I'm a point ahead on primaries. My turn 6. My warlord flies up, and manages to find a spot behind the ruin there where even an elevated assassin can't see him. In shooting, I just try and take out the Vindicares, and succeed in killing one of them. In the enemy's turn 6, the only way he could possibly score a bunch of points is by miraculously killing one of the Caladiuses with a combination of Vindicare shooting and a Calidus charge, then it blowing up and doing 3 wounds to my warlord.
That's never gonna happen, ever.
Well? No, none of that happens. He does a few wounds to one of the Caladiuses, and the game ends. So this turn I score all the primaries, whilst Solar Watch score nothing, so I win, 27-22. My opponent's army just had no frickin' way of dealing with my Caladiuses, and I was able to take him apart piecemeal despite heavy losses after a bunch of stupid moves in turn 1. Well, another fun match, and it was also nice to see Solar Watch, and a radically different style of Custodes list. Thanks for checking out the report.
Now, would you leave?